This is Matthew Robert Payne, and this is going to be a book review of the book Angelic Visitations and Supernatural Encounters, a diary of the living in the supernatural of God by Michael Van Vlymen. This is just a little book review that we're going to share. I've read one of my favourite sort of books is a book on the supernatural, and you can get books from time to time with accounts of people meeting angels, and they're exciting books. You can get anthologies of books with 100 or more people's stories of encounters with angels. What sets this book apart from those books is that this book, we get to have a look at the personality of the person who's engaging with the angels. We get to know the character of the person and his mindset and the sort of frame of mind he had when he had the encounters, and we get a good look at a person's life. And is it a life where you have to be someone super spiritual? Is it a life of a prophet or someone who calls himself a seer? Is it someone who is very popular in the fivefold ministry of apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors or teachers? Or is Michael just simply a normal human being who has got a ministry that it says in the book, calling to prayer? Is it possible that just a normal person, just a person who loves God and worships God, is it possible that a person with no traditional or specific ministry core abilities, is it possible that sort of person can interact and have many encounters with angels? Yes, it is possible, and Michael has proven that it's possible, and this book goes on to prove that that even you and I can have those encounters. One of my favourite parts of the book was when he was talking about having encounters with angels in the flesh, and he listed a number of occasions where he met an angel in the flesh, and I'm not going to spoil it and tell you what those occasions are, but I can tell you that they're memorable. I remember in my own life, I was walking up a street once, and what looked like to be a homeless drunk approached me and asked me if I had spare change, and I had $5 in my pocket, but I would have had to change it at a shop to get spare change to give to the person, because I needed to buy bread and milk, and that would have been $3. And so in order to give what I perceived was a homeless drunk some $2, I couldn't be bothered going to a shop and changing it and taking him with me, so I just lied and said I haven't got spare change. And as soon as the homeless drunk left, standing beside me, I heard in my head, what you do to the least of my brethren, you do unto me. And I turned around and ran back to this homeless drunk, and he went behind a telegraph phone booth, and I didn't see him on the other side of the phone booth. When I got to the phone booth, he'd gone, and it was like 100 metres to any place from that phone booth, and he'd just disappeared into thin air. So that was an occasion I met an angel in the flesh, and it was just testing me, and Jesus said to me, you judge that man, Matthew. You've got to learn not to judge. You just assumed he was a homeless drunk, and so he wasn't worthy of your money, so you lied to him and you judged him, and you've got to learn not to judge, Matthew. And that was an encounter. One of Michael's encounters had an angel interact when he wasn't doing something specifically wrong, and it was like a rebuke from an angel, and that reminded me of that story in my life. I'm particularly impressed with Michael's humility. I've got these days I've got like a humility radar where I perceive the humility in certain people, and Michael proves that he's humble by the way he writes, and he doesn't demonstrate his stories in the best light, but he records his stories in a way that's humiliating for him to admit certain things that are wrong in his life and certain attitudes that were wrong, and he goes out of his way to prove that his attitudes were not in the right place and weren't right, and doesn't candy coat his stories just to make himself look good. So I really appreciate his humility. I really appreciate the fact that he took the time to get these stories out of what looks like to have been a diary of all these occasions. I can't honestly remember all the encounters I've had with angels, and because I've never written a diary, and Michael suggests that you get a journal and you start to journal your supernatural experiences. It certainly makes a lot of sense if you're ever going to write a book or you're ever going to share your supernatural encounters with other people. So I really encourage you to buy this book. This isn't just a fly-by-night book. It's not a book just made to make money. It's not a book that publishers have approached a person and said, you need to write a book on angels because it's going to make a lot of money. You know, James Goll has got a book, Angelic Encounters, and it's showing 555,000 on the Amazon page sales rank, which says that it's not selling as much as this book of Michael's. This book of Michael's selling a whole lot better, and that's testimony to the fact that he's written a solid based account. What appeals to me the most about this is he's not called into the fivefold ministry, and he's just an ordinary folk, he's just an ordinary bloke, and he's having these encounters, and he's encouraging others to press in and go after the encounters. He freely admits in this book that he has been in the past a person that has been going after the gift and not the giver. Freely admits that that was a wrong attitude of his, and he's had to align himself to be more understanding of the Lord and in a right frame of mind with the Lord. So the humility in the book really shines out, and I really encourage you to get yourself a copy of this book. God bless.